What's up, Kansas City? I'm Serenity, and today we have Matt Diamond, and we'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
If you find yourself in need of a criminal defense, personal injury, or immigration lawyer, then call the Service Law Offices of Kansas City. You'll get the experience of an attorney who understands your need for aggressive representation. Consultations are free, so call today. Sooner or later, you'll need service.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. You're an entrepreneur, photographer, poet, rapper. What is it that you don't do?
Gosh, what do I don't do? Well, I started as a poet on 18th and Truist, just down the street from here, and that kind of segued me into learning that there was this awesome art scene in Kansas City, and I had just moved here. It was 2009, and I had no idea that this scene existed. So, what I really wanted to do in my head when I moved to Kansas City was pursue poetry and stand-up comedy, which I have yet to do a stand-up comedy bit, but I've said a lot of silly stuff on the mic while I've done a lot of the open mic circuit. So I found myself around this art scene, and photography was always a passion from childhood, more lifestyle and documentation type photography and kind of telling stories through photography. So in being around this newfound art scene, I found myself with gigs, and I found a client who's visiting right now from Phoenix, actually, and he took me on the road with him a lot, and I made a cool amount of money my first year in 2009, and the rest is kind of history. I just never really stopped, and I just kept evolving with it. So poetry was a segue that really kind of brought me in the door.
So you have a shirt here, IMagery.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
IMagery is the result of Matt Diamond photography, and what I mean by that is I always kind of say Matt Diamond photography is the hustle and imagery is the business, meaning Matt Diamond photography is what started out of that poetry. Matt Diamond photography was what found me my first gig. It's what taught me that $50 photo shoots don't pay the bills. It taught me about rights and usage. It taught me about man hours and keeping track of how much I'm putting into a client and how that breaks down to getting paid $1 an hour literally if you don't watch what you do with clients and overextend yourself, things like that. So, long story short, in fall of 2013, I was driving up 71 highway and I had this revelation, I had been wanting to get more exclusive with my clients, meaning I want to work with you more than once. I don't want you to come and get a shoot and be like, okay, that was great, and then never come back again. I want you to keep coming back, and I want to grow with you. I want to evolve with you. As I'm going through my journey and evolving as a person, and you are too, we should be able to do that together. And you can't get everything you want out of a photo shoot just one time. It takes time. It's like studio time as a recording artist. You don't go in there and take one take. You say stop, run it back, and you do it again, and then you come back for a new session and you have new material, So as a photographer, I was always getting these questions, in my inbox or my email saying, hey, I want a portfolio or I want to shoot. What do I do? Where do I start? What does that cost? And if I itemize it and charge it per session, it's just too expensive in the Midwest. It's just not going to work. So I created IMagery as a solution. And essentially it's an exclusive structure that allows me to work with someone more than once. So at minimum, I work with you for 6 months, and I'm just trying to keep it short. It started as, an aspiring model brand. Well, okay, now we can build a portfolio. We're going to do multiple shoots over 6 months.
Yeah.
But I don't want to just photograph somebody and say, hey, look at our cool photos. If I'm going to talk about Gigi, I want to be like, hey, check out Gigi's poetry. She's beautiful and she does poetry. She doesn't just look good. She doesn't just have great fashion. So I want to advocate people. I want to endorse them. I want to advertise them. So to do so, you have to work with people that aren't one-dimensional.
Right.
So it naturally evolved away from just this aspiring model brand to this talent brand. So we're getting people that do music, that produce, that are aspiring authors, that aspire to have their own cosmetic lines and things like that. So you could essentially call it a growing talent agency that hasn't got anybody paid yet. But we're getting there, and it just takes time. All things take time. But what we do accomplish is we create awesome portfolios with people.
Well, I've
And
seen
we
some
build
of your models
relationships.
do local fashion shows and stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess technically, did some of those start with you, or were they already modeling, or?
Some of them have already done some modeling, and some of them are brand new. And as a person that's been out here for 6 years, the role I kind of play is consult with them on what you should do and what you shouldn't do. If you want to be valuable, and let me not say too much for free, okay? But if you want to be valuable, you keep your supply low to keep your demand high.
Okay.
Supply and demand is just basic economics. So if you don't want to be a model that models for free until you're 30 and you get tired of it, then don't go to every fashion show. And make sure you go to the ones that have the greatest platform, that are the most organized, that have the best venue, you know. And, you know, we try to evolve these people into doing things like hosting my events with me. You know, the events aren't just for me. I actually put other people in the host position. Believe it or not, I don't want to be in the limelight all the time. Sometimes I want to sit back and just talk with someone to the side, you know, while other people take the stage. So imagery is exciting. It's very, very exciting, and I'm so glad that it's one of the first things that you brought up, because I've really put a lot of energy into it, and I'm excited about the attention it's drawing, not just locally, but from the West Coast and
I know you've been to Dallas, I think, a couple times or something.
Yeah, I worked in Dallas a lot last year, and you know, I've made roughly $1,000 out of Dallas, which is a small, modest number, but that's still $1,000.
Then you're making connections down there too, right?
Exactly, you know, and again, it takes time. You know, you can't go into a city and expect to make $5,000 the first year that you go there. You know, and it took me a few visits to make that happen, but nonetheless, you know, I'm stamping that MDP style in Dallas, you know, and it's also segueing, once again, the possibility to do imagery contracts out of Dallas, you know, and imagery is something that I want to take coast to coast and eventually be international, honestly. You know, I get international emails, you know, most popularly from the east coast of Africa. You know, they'll contact me and say, when are you coming? Or, are you in Nairobi? You know, they're not quite sure, you know, where this is, but they know that they like it and it feels international. And if someone mistakes it for being a brand that's in that country, it's obviously international.
Right.
It has that appeal, that essence, and the art is all about the essence, you know. It's
So
more
what
than a photo.
publications have you done so far?
Not a lot, but a few, and I mean, I'm proud of what I've done. I actually recently started writing a list of where I have them published, and we've been in St. Louis Post-Dispatch, Midwest Black Hair Magazine. March of this year was my 6-year anniversary for MDP, and I got the cover of Tuning Fork Magazine and an inside story.
To what's the name of it?
Tuning Fork Magazine.
Oh, okay.
And you could find it in downtown and Midtown predominantly. And it's published in St. Joseph, Missouri, but they're really focusing a lot of their distribution in Kansas City, obviously, you know, the closest urban center. So, MissWrightWrites.com, I'm sorry, MrsWrightWrites.com. She's published this a couple times, and she actually just put an article up for our upcoming event. And gosh, there's a few more, but we've been out there a few times, and on print, you know, the most exciting thing about 3 or 4 times. So there's something special about, you know, we're in this digital era. You see a photo on your phone, it's great, but when you can hold it, you know, there's just something special about that. It's a little more historical.
Right, because it's, right.
You know.
So you host events as well. Tell us a little bit about your events.
Well, the events, the very first I did was right before Imagery was born. It was August of 2013. And I just felt like that I was building enough of, for lack of better words, I hate to say it, but fan base. I felt like I had built enough of a fan base that I could put up a date for an event and people would show up.
Right.
So we did our first barbecue and they showed up. And it was...
Where was that?
It was actually at my place in Strawberry Hill
okay.
in Kansas City, Kansas. I live in a building that's really an arts building. So it has a bit of property, and I got a cool garden there and all this stuff going on. So we set up, we had a bounce house for the kids, and we had a DJ, and we had jewelry for sale, and we had home baked goods that someone brought, and it was good. It was really good. And so that was where our event started. And, a barbecue is, tank tops and t-shirts and flip-flops. I like to dress up sometimes, and as artists and entrepreneurs, I think we all like to dress up and feel attractive sometimes and just enjoy an evening out rather than just a day. So I decided that for 2014 we were going to do cocktail mixers.
I've been to a couple before.
Yeah. So we started doing the cocktails, and it's the same format as the barbecue. We have performance artists, we have vendors, we do raffles, we do giveaways, and what I pride myself most on with the events is it's a genuine networking environment. It's not one of those events where you walk in and you got a couple artists over here and a couple people over here and a couple people over there, and everyone's just looking across the room at each other. But people really move around and interact. So that goes to say, the whole point of the mixers is independent business advocacy. And if you make cookies and I make cake, and you like what I make and I like what you make, we need to know each other.
That's true.
So I can call you next Tuesday. Yeah, so it's all about connecting and really building up this independent economy and enhancing diversity and advocating diversity. I've been reading Ishmael. Have you ever read Ishmael?
No, I haven't.
Oh my God. It's fabulous. And Ishmael's talking about the importance of diversity, how it brings strength to something, and even looking at it in like an ecosystem. You can't just have birds. Birds need worms, and worms need dirt.
Right.
And dirt needs water.
Basically, you're saying everything works together, and other people should understand they should work together. Yeah.
It's universal concepts and laws, universal laws that are being applied to what we do. Cascade is interviewing MDP. Mm-hmm. I'm a camera guy, but you guys are camera people. I have a journalistic mind state and approach to the camera, and you're being a journalist. These things all work together.
Right.
So the mixers really advocate that and stress that, and they're exciting. They're very exciting. So this year, we're taking it to another level, and we have all of our dates scheduled for the whole year. So we've got May 8th, cocktail mixer. May 17th is our third annual barbecue at just off Broadway Theater. Mm-hmm. July 17th is another cocktail mixer for the summer. We have one for every season. Yeah. And then October 23rd, we'll be back at the Arts Bar for our final. So we're doing 5 events per year. And on occasion, we throw a concert on the side.
Yeah, I remember you said you started hosting concerts.
Yeah, yeah. And did 4 concerts this year.
So what's going on with the music and poetry right now? What are you?
The music and poetry. I met through a friend. I met an awesome guy named Arvin Barr who has a small label called Bar for Bar. Mm-hmm. And he was the first person that I ever met that made me feel comfortable in the studio to really, to do my dubs and play with my voice and not feel self-conscious, And I was looking for that mic and that person that I could do those things with and be completely comfortable and that could give me honest feedback about the music that I was bringing out. So I was working with Arvin a lot at the end of the year, and he's kind of in transition right now with establishing his studio, but we're still in contact, and he will be coming down from St. Joseph to perform at some of the upcoming events. So music is always going to be a part of me, music, starting from country music in grade school, and then in 5th grade, at the end of grade school, listening to Coolio. I wrote my first rap to Gangsta's Paradise, and I rapped at my 5th grade graduation.
Oh, okay.
And this is at an all-white school in the country.
Okay.
But I always had that inspiration come from the outside that really drove me when I was in my bedroom, And then in middle school, going through what middle schoolers go through, emotionally and hormones and all these things, and music was like a father to me. So it was alternative rock, and then it was Tupac. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So music is always going to be a part of what I do, even if it's not just a background inspirational drive that's kind of pushing me through things. Mm-hmm. So it's something I'll continue to pursue. And poetry, you can't have music without poetry.
Right.
you know. So it's things that I'll continue to be working with for sure.
So how would somebody get in contact with you?
Oh gosh, MattDiamondFlix.com. That's FLIX. You can go there and find all my social media. You can email me through there. I don't think I have my phone number listed on there, but my phone number is very, very available on the internet, especially on social media. So I am on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, and I'm on Facebook. I think everyone's got to know that by now.
Right.
IMagery is on Facebook, Matt Diamond Photography is on Facebook, and obviously my personal account. So MattDiamondFlix.com is where I like for everyone to go, because if you really want to see me in a nutshell, that's where you go to see each individual thing that I'm bringing as a photographer, and you might catch a bit of my music on there, a little bit of my video work, and things of that nature.
Okay.
So.
Well, thank you, Matt, for coming in. And I'm Serenity, reminding you to spit your piece.
CMG wants you to always remember, the victory we call success goes to the best prepared. When you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. Thanks.